Picture this. One day, you're laughing with the person who knows you better than anyone, the one who's been by your side through every high and low, and the next, they're gone. No warning, no second chances, just an empty space where they used to be, a silence so loud it drowns out everything else. My name is Mark, and I lost my little sister, Lily, 6 months ago. She was only 29, the heart of our family, and her death didn't just break me. It's tearing apart everything I thought I knew about love, family, and forgiveness. If you've ever lost someone so close it feels like losing a piece of yourself, or if you've watched your family crumble under the weight of grief, stick with me. This isn't just about saying goodbye. It's about the guilt that eats you alive, the secrets left behind, and the desperate hope that maybe, just maybe, there's a way to piece a shattered life back together. I'm sitting on the rickety old swing set in the backyard of my childhood home, just outside Bozeman, Montana, where the air is crisp and smells of pine, and the Gallatin Mountains loom in the distance like silent guardians. It's a chilly October afternoon, the kind where the golden aspen leaves flutter down like confetti, and I can hear the faint rush of the creek that runs through our property. This swing set is where Lily and I spent countless hours as kids, dreaming up adventures, sharing secrets, and promising we'd always have each other's backs. Now, it's just me, 34 years old, staring at the empty swing beside me, feeling the weight of her absence like a stone in my chest. How do you keep going when the person who made life make sense is gone? How do you face a family that's falling apart when you're barely holding yourself together? I grew up on this sprawling piece of land, a modest ranch my dad inherited from his father, where we raised cattle and grew hay under the endless Montana sky. Life here was hard but honest. Summers spent baling hay until my hands blistered, winters shoveling snow just to get to the barn, and evenings around the kitchen table with Mom's hearty stew warming our bones. I was the oldest, born in '89, and Lily came along 3 years later, a surprise to my parents but the best thing that ever happened to me. From the moment she could walk, she was my shadow, toddling after me with her messy blonde pigtails, begging to help with chores even when she was more trouble than help. I'd grumble, but secretly, I loved it. She had this light about her, this way of making even the toughest days feel bearable with her goofy laugh, or the way she'd slip her tiny hand into mine when I was upset. Our family wasn't perfect, though. Dad was a quiet man, hardened by years of ranching, more comfortable with cattle than emotions, while Mom was the glue, always fussing over us, hiding her own worries behind a forced smile. Money was tight, especially after a few bad seasons in the early 2000s, and I remember the tension in the house, the way Dad would stare at bills late at night, the way Mom's voice would crack when she thought we couldn't hear. But Lily, she was our sunshine. She'd draw silly pictures to cheer Dad up, sing off-key to make Mom laugh, and drag me outside to stargaze when I was stressed about school or the future. I swore I'd protect her, no matter what, because she was more than my sister. She was my best friend, the one person who got me, who saw through my tough guy act to the scared kid underneath. By the time I was in my early 20s, life started pulling me away from home. I moved to Missoula for college in 2007, chasing a degree in business, dreaming of a life beyond the ranch, while Lily stayed behind, helping out and taking community college classes in Bozeman. I'd call her every week, and she'd fill me in on the gossip, how Dad had argued with a neighbor over a fence line, how Mom was obsessed with a new knitting project, how she'd started dating some guy from her art class. We'd laugh, plan visits, and I'd promised to come home soon, but soon kept getting pushed back. After college, I got a job in Billings, working long hours at a logistics company, trying to build a stable life, telling myself I'd make time for family later. I didn't realize how much I was missing until Lily called me one day in 2019, her voice shaky, saying she'd been diagnosed with leukemia. My world stopped. She was only 26, too young for something so cruel, and I felt this gut-wrenching fear I'd never known before. I promised myself I'd be there for her, that I'd drop everything to help her fight. I drove home that weekend, sitting with her in the sterile hospital room in Bozeman, watching her try to smile through the fear in her eyes. She looked so small under the thin blanket, her hair already thinning from the first round of chemo, but she still cracked jokes, teasing me about my terrible bedside manner. I held her hand, told her we'd get through this, that I wasn't going anywhere. But life, it has a way of breaking promises. My job started demanding more, late nights, urgent trips, quotas I couldn't miss if I wanted to keep my apartment, my car, my so-called stability. I'd visit when I could, but weeks turned into months, and soon I was only calling, sending texts, telling myself she understood, that she knew I loved her. I'd hear the disappointment in her voice, the way she'd say, "It's okay, Mark, I know you're busy." And I'd hate myself, but I didn't change. I kept running, hiding behind excuses, too scared to face how sick she really was. When Lily passed last April, it was sudden, even though we knew it was coming. The cancer had spread too far, too fast, and one morning, Mom called me, her voice hollow, saying she was gone. I drove the 4 hours from Billings to Bozeman in a daze, the mountains blurring past, my mind replaying every moment I'd missed, every call I'd cut short. At the funeral, held in the small church on the edge of town where we'd gone every Sunday as kids, I stood by her casket, staring at her peaceful face, and felt this rage, at the world for taking her, at myself for not being there. I wanted to scream, to beg for one more day, one more chance to tell her I'm sorry, but all I could do was stand there, numb, as the preacher spoke words I didn't hear. The graveyard behind the church, with its view of the Bridger Range, became her final resting place, under a simple stone that didn't capture even a fraction of who she was. Since then, grief has been a storm I can't outrun. I moved back to the ranch a month after the funeral, quitting my job in Billings, unable to stand being so far from where Lily's memory lives. But coming home didn't bring the peace I'd hoped for. The house feels like a tomb, every corner haunted by her, her old sketchbooks on the shelf, her favorite mug still in the cupboard, the faint scent of her lavender lotion lingering in the hallway. I'm drowning in guilt, replaying every time I chose work over her, every missed hospital visit, every promise I broke. I see her in my dreams, smiling like she used to, and wake up gasping, realizing she's gone, that I can't fix what I broke. I keep asking myself, if I'd been there more, could I have made her last months better? Could I have said the things I needed to say, heard the things she might have needed to tell me? My relationship with my parents is crumbling under the weight of this loss, too. Dad's retreated even further into himself, spending hours in the barn or out on the fields, barely speaking beyond grunts and nods. I see the pain in his weathered face, the way his hands tremble when he thinks no one's watching. But he won't talk about Lily, won't even say her name. Mom's the opposite. She's obsessed with keeping busy, cooking meals no one eats, cleaning rooms that don't need it, her eyes red from crying when she thinks I'm not looking. We don't talk about Lily as a family, don't share memories or tears. It's like we're all grieving alone, trapped in our own pain, unable to reach each other. I'm angry at them sometimes, for not trying harder to hold us together, but I'm just as guilty. I avoid the hard conversations, hide in my old room, or take long drives through the mountains, pretending I'm okay when I'm not. The emotional conflict tearing me apart is this push and pull between holding on to Lily and letting her go. I want to remember every detail, her laugh, the way she'd doodle on napkins at dinner, the stories we'd make up about the constellations over the ranch. I've kept her old scarf, still smelling faintly of her, in my drawer, and sometimes I just sit with it, trying to feel her close. But every memory cuts, reminding me of what I've lost, of the time I squandered. I'm terrified that moving on, finding a new job, building a life without her, means betraying her, means forgetting. Yet, staying stuck in this grief is suffocating me, pushing me away from the living family I still have. I see Mom and Dad struggling, and part of me wants to bridge the gap, to heal us, but I don't know how when I'm so broken myself. Then, a few weeks ago, something happened that shook me to my core. I was cleaning out Lily's old room, something none of us had touched since she passed, trying to pack away her things into boxes for storage. It felt like a betrayal, folding her clothes, stacking her art supplies, but I couldn't keep avoiding it. Under her bed, tucked behind a pile of old sketch pads, I found a small, leather-bound journal I'd never seen before. My heart raced as I opened it, recognizing her messy handwriting instantly. It was a diary she'd kept during her illness, starting from her diagnosis in 2019, pages filled with her thoughts, fears, and hopes. I sat on her bed, the faded quilt still smelling of her, and read through tears as she poured out her loneliness during chemo, her frustration at feeling weak, her love for us even when we weren't there. The entries were raw, unfiltered, showing a side of Lily I'd never fully seen. She wrote about missing me, wishing I'd visit more, but not wanting to burden me with her pain. She wrote about Dad's silence, how it hurt her, and Mom's overprotectiveness, how it smothered her. But the hardest part was reading her fears, how she worried she'd be forgotten, how she felt like a failure for not beating the cancer, how she prayed we'd be okay without her. I felt my chest tighten, guilt and grief crashing over me, realizing how much she'd carried alone, how much I'd failed to see. I wanted to stop reading, to put the journal back and pretend I'd never found it, but I couldn't. I needed to know all of her, even the parts that hurt. The unexpected twist came near the end of the journal, in an entry dated just a month before she died. Lily wrote about a final wish, something she'd never told us, something she'd kept secret because she feared it would cause more pain. She wanted us to take a family trip to Glacier National Park, a place we'd visited once as kids, where we'd hiked and laughed and felt like nothing could touch us. She wrote that she dreamed of us going there after she was gone, scattering some of her ashes by Lake McDonald, and finding a way to remember her without falling apart. She hoped it would bring us closer, force us to talk, to heal, but she was scared to ask, scared we'd say no or fight over it. Reading that, I felt a mix of hope and dread. Could this be the thing that saves us, that pulls Mom, Dad, and me out of this darkness? Or would it just open old wounds, make us face how far we've drifted? I've kept the journal hidden in my room since finding it, rereading that last entry over and over, wrestling with what to do. Part of me wants to show it to Mom and Dad, to tell them about Lily's wish, to see if we can honor it together. I imagine us driving up to Glacier, the mountains towering around us, standing by that lake with the wind in our hair, letting go of some of this pain as we let go of her ashes. I picture us talking, really talking, for the first time in months, sharing stories about Lily, maybe even laughing through the tears. But another part of me is paralyzed with fear. What if they refuse? What if Dad shuts down or Mom breaks down? What if this wish becomes another thing we fight over? What if I'm not ready to say goodbye in such a final way, to scatter her into the wind when I'm still clinging to her memory? I've been spending a lot of time walking the ranch lately, following the old trails Lily and I used to explore, where we pretend to be pioneers or search for hidden treasure among the sagebrush. The Montana sky stretches forever here, a deep blue that makes you feel small, and I think about the life we had, the family we were before everything changed. I remember the day Lily was born, holding her tiny body in the hospital, promising I'd always protect her, a promise I broke in ways I can't forgive. I think about Mom and Dad, how they've aged overnight, how I see Lily in Mom's eyes, in Dad's quiet strength, and wonder if we can find her in each other again. I recall the lessons this land taught me: resilience, grit, the stubborn will to keep going even when the odds are against you. But can I apply that now, when the loss feels bigger than any drought or storm we've ever faced? Reflecting on my past, I keep circling back to the choices I made, the times I put distance between me and Lily, thinking I had time to make it right. I remember the summer before her diagnosis, when she came to visit me in Billings, and we spent a day fishing on the Yellowstone River, just the two of us, laughing like we were kids again. She told me she was proud of me, that she knew I was doing my best, and I brushed it off, not realizing it was one of the last times I'd hear her say that. I think about the hospital visits I did make, the way she'd light up even when she was exhausted, and how I took those moments for granted, assuming there'd be more. Now, I'm left with regrets, with a journal full of her unspoken words, and a wish that could either mend us or break us further. As I sit here on this swing set, the empty seat beside me swaying in the breeze, the mountains casting long shadows over the ranch, I'm at a crossroads I never imagined. Lily's journal is upstairs, tucked under my mattress, its weight heavier than any burden I've carried. I want to honor her, to do this one last thing for her, to take that trip to Glacier and see if it can bring my family back together. But I'm scared of what it'll mean to let go, scared of facing Mom and Dad with this truth, scared that even this won't be enough to heal us. I've lost so much already, and I don't know if I can risk losing more, but I also don't know if I can keep living in this limbo, trapped between grief and guilt, unable to move forward or look back without pain. So, I'm turning to you, whoever's listening out there. What would you do if you were me? Would you show the journal to your family, risk the pain for a chance at healing, or keep it hidden, protecting what little piece you have left? Should I fight for this trip to Glacier, for Lily's last wish, even if it means facing truths I'm not ready for? Or am I just clinging to a hope that's already gone, trying to fix something that's too broken to mend? I don't know what's next for me, for us, but I do know I can't keep carrying this alone. Tell me your thoughts, your stories, because right now, I'm lost, and I need to believe there's a way through this darkness, a way to remember Lily without losing myself, or what's left of my family, in the process.